Food is medicine. So this is our first workshop in wellness series for this year. I would like to thank Dr. Rewati for taking time and coming here. And I would like to add that she has been involved with the TheNeedInDeed organization for a couple of years now. And she's working with health partners for over 22 years as internist, hospitalist. She is heavily vested in community wellness initiative, particularly in Southeast Asian community, and has held weight loss challenges with tremendous success. Many of us participated in that weight loss challenges, and it was really amazing to see the progress among community. Special interests are really the how disease can be prevented just by eating good food. And also, she is interested in Ayurvedic medicine, has been cooking over for 40 years now. So she has a broad experience, and we're so delighted to have her here to share her experience with us. So she will be presenting, and then we will have some time for the question hour session. For questions, feel free to raise hand electronically, and Lena in the audience is going to monitor that, or feel free to write your questions in the chat. Thank you very much, and you can start.
Thank you, Renu. Thank you so much for that wonderful introduction. And I want to thank TheNeedInDeed for giving me yet another opportunity to talk about a wellness topic, food, which I'm very passionate about. I don't know if you remember last year, January, we talked about another topic, sleep, which is another pillar of wellness. And the topic was sleep and its importance in your health and longevity. I'm hoping that you all are reaping benefits from that topic and you slept very well throughout 2021. But I would like to request you all to stay awake and not fall asleep for the next 60 minutes because it's going to be a very exciting presentation. So TheNeedInDeed, thank you once again. And this is a topic which is very close to my heart. I want to welcome all our audience. I think many of you are joining from across the country and some of you are joining us from across the continents as well. So welcome. I really appreciate your very precious time. And I also want to wish you all very happy New Year. And this is the weekend of festivities. So whether you celebrate Pongal, Makar Sankranti, Lodi, very happy weekend of festivities. Thank you for your precious time. Like Renu said, I'm a practicing physician. So I work in two different settings. I work in the hospital where I'm the hospitalist. I get to see patients when they already have the disease. So I get to see patients in their 40s, 50s, 60s where they're coming in with stroke, heart attack, heart disease, or worst being cancer. At the same time, I'm also a geriatrician, which means I'm seeing the patients who are in their 90s. Actually, my oldest patient is 102 years old. And I see these older geriatric patients who are extremely thriving very well. They are like poster child. They are playing pickleball. They're going for long walks. And I always think on this whole spectrum of thing, why is that one person would succumb to such diseases, whereas somebody else who is in their 90s is leading such a fulfilling and wholesome life. So there are many factors, but food is a very, very important factor in that as an answer to that question, which I often ponder upon. So that's what we are going to talk about. And like Renu said, I have been extremely interested in food as science and disease prevention. I also like to interlink the science of food with our ancient knowledge of Ayurvedic medicine. And I've been cooking for many years. So with that, we'll get started. Pankaj, if you would go to the next slide. We have this wonderful, the previous slide, please, Pankaj. So on Zoom, we have this wonderful conversation and the chat box. Please do utilize that. Any suggestions are welcome. My question to you all is, what is your worst health fear? And you can put anything in a word. It could be diabetes, it could be arthritis. If somebody's parents had dementia, it could be dementia for them. And then my next question to you is, what are you doing for that fear? I mean, if somebody is worried about diabetes, then what exactly are they doing? Are they trying to exercise? Are they trying to watch the diet? So put one word of what's your fear, and then put a statement or two telling us about what are you doing for that fear. Next slide, Pankaj. So we see that life is a constant change. I mean, every morning the sun rises, every night the sun sets, and if something goes wrong, the next day another new day starts. And also the life is a full circle. So I'm going to give you an example. When I was growing up as a child, and of course I grew up in India, and anytime there was some kind of an ailment, if my nose was runny, if I had a viral illness, or if I was coming down with sore throat or cough, my grandma would always come up with this wonderful concoction of some kind of a home remedy and tell that drink this, it will make you feel better. And of course, a skeptic in me, that kid would roll the eyes and think, what would this old lady know about treating me with this ginger cocktail or rasam or a turmeric golden milk? Why is she saying that? That was the eye roll and the skepticism in me. But guess what? It only took me 35 years of medical school education and the practicing as a physician where I have come to a full circle. And now with all the research and the science we have, I have come to a conclusion that whatever my grandma was doing at that time, she was right. Pankaj, next slide. So even though I hold the degree of MBBS and MD and geriatrics and hospital medicine, guess what? If my child comes to me telling me that, Mom, I have sore throat or I have body aches and fevers, I don't think of Tamiflu. I actually think of going ahead with some kind of a ginger tea or rasam. You know, those age-old remedies are always coming back. And I myself have come to a full circle. There has been a complete reprisal. So with that, we'll go to the next slide, Pankaj. And once again, I always choose January as my time for any kind of wellness topic. And there's a reason for that. January is a time when people are pretty malleable. They're very receptive to change. They are actually having their own personal introspection. They are having some kind of a soul searching. And they are ready for change. They are making resolutions. So I always want to seize that opportunity and make the maximum of that moment. I want to strike the iron when it's red hot. So if somebody is ready for change, I'm willing to spend my time. I'm willing to present all the knowledge. So whenever you decide you will be taking up and soaking that knowledge and going ahead with those resolutions and those changes. So that was my intention for today's talk, is to present all the facts to you so you can take and make whatever resolutions, whatever changes you're ready for. We'll go to the next slide. So look at that message. I don't think any one single person in the audience will say, oh, I've never read that before. Yes, you all have seen that hundreds of times before. Every single time your airplane is taking off, that message is flashing. That message is being announced. And what is that message? It says, put your oxygen mask first before you assist others. You know what it means? What it means is you're supposed to help yourself before you are going to help others. And you all, each one of you in the audience is a caregiver. You are a caregiver at a different level for different people. You are a caregiver for your kids. You are a caregiver for your parents. You are a caregiver to your friends. You are a caregiver to your community and to your society. So if you are giving all the time, you have to take a moment to care for yourself. So my goal is for you all to take a moment and set up an intention and take time for yourself and go ahead and make some changes which are going to be beneficial for you. Because if you take good care of yourself, you are going to be able to take care of all the loved ones in your family. Pankaj, next slide. So this slide says, let food be the medicine. And this saying is actually age-old, centuries old. It comes right from Ayurvedic medicine. Ayurvedic medicine actually focuses a lot on you, your gut, your diet, your digestion. And Ayurvedic medicine is one of the oldest medicines in the world. And for people who do not know, Ayu and Veda means, Ayu means life, Veda means science. So Ayurveda is what? The science of life or knowledge of life. And Ayurveda has always said, you need to eat the right kind of food at the right time, the right way. And if you do all these things, you will have the right kind of health. And all the wrong things can be avoided. And guess what? Not only did Ayurveda say and stress that food is the medicine, but our father of medicine, for any doctor, Hippocrates is the father of our medicine. And we all swear by, abide by that Hippocratic oath. So our father of medicine, Hippocrates himself had said, and this is his statement, let food be thy medicine and let medicine be thy food. So he said this around 400 years old, and somewhere we forgot this whole science and the statement for food to be the medicine. In fact, if you actually want, you can use your food as medicine, and you can do that 3 to 4 times a day. And if you do it right, you are going to prevent the onset of illness, cancer, and you may never need the real chemotherapy or real kind of pharmaceutical medication if you actually use the food as the medicine and make the right choices. So with food, we also have very profound, deep connection with nature. So food is a link between us and the nature. Nature, I can put it as simple as the nature gives you the food, you eat that food, and that's why you are alive. It's as simple as that. But somewhere in the last 50 to 60 years, this simple, beautiful connection of food and the nature and the man has been lost. And there came upon the corporates and the industry and the marketing and all the packaging. So food now is no longer just the beautiful green, crunchy, crispy produce which we see in the farmer's market. For actually a generation Z and generation Alpha, which is the kids who are born in year 2000 onwards, those are the kids are Gen Z and Gen Alpha. For those kids, the food is actually the food which comes in brightly colored plastic boxes, the highly processed, highly prepackaged. And if you ask those kids, an apple may remind them of apple dipper, which is a snack which is coming from McDonald's. And if you ask them what's a chicken, they may not say chicken is a bird. They may just say chicken is a nugget, which comes from McDonald's. Or they may say chicken is a drumstick, which is coming from the KFC bucket. So we lost that beautiful, natural, simplistic connection with the nature, which food used to be. And now food is much more complex, processed, prepackaged. Pankaj, next slide. So this is another beautiful slide. Again, the message is extremely simple. The message on the poster, it says, let's cook together. How simple can that be? Even though it's such a simple message, but it is a very sad message. And I'm going to explain some of the data, why I think it's such a sad message. So the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, that is an organization which did the research. And they took 34 developed countries and they did the research and they came up with conclusions. How much time each country is spending in cooking time, cleanup time, eating time. And then they did a lot more research based on how much money is being spent per person, how much is the longevity, how much is people living long, or what's the obesity rate. So what this Department of Organization of Economic and Cooperation Development, which studied the 34 countries, they came up with a very sad data that America scored the lowest in the amount of time we spent for cooking, which came up around 27 minutes. And the time America needed to clean up after cooking is only 4 minutes. And compare it to the other 34 countries, they were spending anywhere from 2 hours, 8 minutes. And also America spends the least amount of time in eating. Of the amount of the food which we eat, 20% of that food was eaten in the car. And can you imagine what kind of food do people eat in the car? I don't think they're going to eat steamed broccoli or some kind of a crunchy carrot. It's mostly going to be fast food, which people may have picked up while they were running errands, while they're busy, while they're dropping kids for activities. So the 20% of the meals were eaten in the car. And what does that mean? That means that America is spending the least amount of time in the cooking. America is eating that food very, very fast, which means we are not sitting down and having that pleasurable dinner moment. We are gulping down the food, and we are eating a lot of our meals in our cars, which is not very good for us. So yes, it's not good, because the further data showed that the longevity, which means the lifespan, was the shortest in America compared to these other Western countries which this department studied. Other countries were having the lifespan of 79.3 years, whereas America was at 77 years. And maximum obesity was in America, and also the per capita health expenditure was a maximum. So if we are not spending time to cook food, sit down and eat that well-cooked food, where we have spent time, energy, and thought in putting that food together, there is going to be obesity, there is going to be short lifespan, there is going to be a lot of chronic disease, and there's going to be a lot of health expenditure. So that brings me to a question: what is a modern definition of cooking? The modern definition of cooking is if you put two ingredients together. And that brought a chuckle to my mind. And I was thinking, if somebody picks up a French fry and dips it in a ketchup, that is two ingredients. Does that mean it's cooking? I don't think so, because we all know what real cooking is. We all have seen our mothers cooking in kitchen. We all have seen our grandmothers cooking in the kitchen. And we know what that cooking was. That was the pleasurable, wonderful time spent in the kitchen with the families. But somewhere in the last 50 to 60 years, that momentum shifted from mothers and grandmothers cooking in the kitchen to commercial cooking. Commercial cooking means we are not doing much of home cooking. We are doing more of a cooking happening in the industries, in the factories, at a commercial level. And that's where I'm talking about the prepackaged meals and the plastic boxes of food is coming out from. And how does the corporates do? I mean, when you shift the burden of cooking from your mom's shoulders, from your grandmom's shoulder to a corporate shoulder, you're going to lose all the beautiful feelings your mom had when she was cooking. She had all the passion for you. She was cooking a meal for you. So there was a lot of love. There was a lot of happiness. She was putting all the positive vibes into that food which she was cooking for you. And if a corporate is cooking food for you, do you think the corporate cooking, they are putting all those same emotions? Definitely not. Can you tell me what kind of feelings the corporates and the industries and the commercial kitchens will be putting if they are cooking food for you? They'll be putting the one and only bottom line which they have, that is the money, which means if a corporate is cooking food for you, they are going to put their bottom line, the profits and the margins, and that is the key. So they will use the food, they will not use the feelings your mom had. I mean, the love, the passion, the health, and the nutrition, all the deep thoughts are out the door. They will use the things which are the cheapest on the market. And those are the three different things. One is salt, fat, and sugar. These are the three things which the corporates will load up your food with. Why? Because they are very cheap. And more importantly, they are extremely addictive. So if you eat any food which has very high salt, very high sugar, very high fat, you will have a very high addiction potential, and you'll come back again and again and again to eat those foods. And what does that do to the corporate markets? That increases their margin of profits. And in that food world, they'll never ever use the word food addiction, they'll only say craveability or snackability, because craveability and snackability is much better sounding to ears than if I say food addiction. So that's the momentum shift which has happened over the course of 50 to 60 years, where the home kitchen cooking has been completely dismantled and it has shifted to industrial cooking, commercial cooking, corporate cooking. And I have to tell you about KFC. KFC in 1960s put a billboard out there, huge banners and billboards telling what the progressive definition of a progressive forward woman is. They said the forward progressive women will not be spending time in the kitchen because that's waste of time. When I came to America, one of the things which surprised me was there was a monetary value to every single act. I just could not understand how could somebody put a monetary value in raising a kid, in having pets. It costs you this much. And then there was a statement, cooking is unpaid time. We all have to remember that we do things sometimes for reasons above and beyond money. We are not having kids for a reason because we are calculating that we have this much money and we are going to spend this much money. We are having kids, we are having pets for a reason above and beyond money. Same thing is for cooking. We are cooking food for reasons much, much above the monetary value. So with that, I'll go to the next slide. So I want to explain exactly the story of how the pre-packaged processed foods came into existence. So initially, it started during the World War II, World War I, where the industry and the government came together and they were like, okay, we need to have some kind of a foods which our soldiers can eat when they are at war. So that's how the first pre-packaged food came into existence. And the first processed food was instant coffee. And the next one was powdered orange juice. And then the war ended. And then there was no room for marketing these products, which were already developed. So what did the industry do? They started finding much bigger and better market, which is a general public. So they started marketing all these shelf-stable foods, the processed foods, the fast foods, the instant foods to general American public. And what is exactly marketing? Marketing is where you create an anxiety to a consumer, then you create a solution, and then you present the solution to this highly, highly anxious consumer, and then you sell that solution. So that is exactly a vicious cycle of marketing where you are creating an anxiety in the brains of the consumer, you're finding a solution, and then you're bringing the solution and you're selling the solution. And that's how they brought all these junk food, the fast food, the processed food, the packaged food, the instant food out into the general public, and they started selling and making money. So I'm going to, next slide, please. So like I said already, I think I spoke here, and this is a grandma hugging a grandkid. So we cook for reasons much above monetary value. And I'm going to talk about different levels at which we do cooking. Next slide. So there are many things happening at different levels. For example, you are cooking at the family level. You're bringing all the people together. You're creating these memories. We all have that feeling of nostalgia when we take a bite into some wonderful delicacy or a dish. Immediately our brains go back to our memories. Oh, my grandma used to make this food. That's nostalgia. That's a sweet memory. That's the association. So at the level of the family, the food is making memories, making connections, and helping bring the families together. Next, we move on to the community level. At the level of the community, food is a reason why man came together and formed communities. Because with the discovery of fire, Initially, man used to hunt the food, eat the food, walk away. So they were not in groups together. But when the fire came into existence, they started sitting around the fire. Everybody will hunt and bring their food. They will cook the food together. So that's exactly how the spirit of community started. So at the community level, the food brought the communities together. At the evolutionary level, the food is very, very important because food is the reason why there was advancement of civilization. Again, like I explained, all these people came together and there was an evolution. And at the level of emotions, I have listed some of the things here. Food is not just the simple act of cooking. Food is actually giving the life lessons to your children just by the fact you're showing them how to cook food. You're telling your kids many, many profound life lessons. For example, let's say grandma is baking a cake. The kid wants to just put the finger and lick the icing and lick the batter, but the kid knows that we are supposed to wait till the batter goes into the oven, till the cake is baked for 40 minutes. So what virtue is that? The kid is learning the very important life lesson of patience. So just by showing the act of making or baking a cake, grandma or mom has taught the life lesson of patience. Next, the kid sees in the oven the cake is baking and it's rising and rising. It looks beautiful. And the kid just wants to jump and eat that cake or the pudding or whatever the English trifle mom or grandma are making. But they're not supposed to do that because they're supposed to be finishing that product. They're supposed to be decorating. So what virtue does it teach us? It teaches us to have self-restraint. So you hold that thought of jumping and eating that whole thing. That's a self-restraint. And that is a very, very important life lesson the kids should know because we all need to have that quality of self-restraint. Okay, the cake comes out of the oven. It's onto the table. We are ready to eat. But wait, we are supposed to hold our hands and say the peace, say the grace, say the prayers together. Or in Indian or Hindu community, we put a little bit of water and we close our eyes for a quick moment and thank the Annapurna Devi for giving that morsel of bite and for being able to enjoy that food and being able to afford that food or being able to be alive and to eat that food. So that the moment of what is that life lesson? That life lesson is the gratefulness or the thankfulness, or we call it gratitude. So you are teaching the kid that just by the act of cooking and eating together, you're teaching the kid the very important life lesson of being grounded, of being grateful, and the emotion of gratitude. And then, okay, we are ready to eat now. Now, I really like that cake. That's my favorite chocolate cake. I want to eat the whole cake myself. I don't care if everybody else gets it or not. But wait, we are supposed to divide it into 4 portions because my family has 4 people and I'm going to get 1/4 piece and we are going to each get 1/4 piece of cake. So what does that mean? That is the life lesson, valuable life lesson of caring and sharing. So you are teaching the kid all these wonderful life lessons of patience, virtue, gratitude, self-restraint, caring, and sharing just by the simple act of cooking. Cooking is also a social act. For example, a lot of people have heard the saying, enemies break the bread together. So cooking is not just cooking. Cooking and eating is where people from different faiths and communities come together and break bread together. That's a very ceremonial, meditative kind of an act which people do together. And cooking is also associated with personal identity. For example, I have given up meat. That is my personal identity. And cooking, somebody else may say, I'm a vegan. That's their personal identity. Cooking can be a cultural identity. Cooking can be a personal identity. Cooking can be a cultural identity. Cooking can be a religious identity. For example, you will hear people eat kosher, or people eat halal, or people eat Hindu Jain food. So there are different identities associated with cooking. So again, I'll tell you what, cooking is not just simply cooking, and cooking is not something we can attach a monetary value or a production value. Cooking is much, much, much bigger emotion, bigger act than what we can even describe like I've been talking. I think we'll go to the next slide. So of all the slides, this slide is such a wonderful slide. It blew my mind off. And I'm going to talk about that. And I'm going to, in the end, I'm going to come back to this slide and I'm going to talk about all the things I've listed on the left side, which we use in our kitchen. So first, I'm going to talk about the epigenetics of diet. So I don't know if you know what the word epigenetics mean. We may have heard it while we took our genetic lesson or a biology lesson. If not, I want you to understand what epigenetics mean. So we all come with a particular code in us, and that code is a DNA code, and that does not change. But what can change is how that DNA code is being expressed. For example, if you have brown curly hair, that's because your DNA has been set to have that brown curly hair. But there are few other complicating factors above and beyond which can influence how that DNA is finally going to express that genetic code. For example, I'll give you an analogy. I own a Tesla, and I got my Tesla 4 or 5 years ago, and I get software updates for Tesla every 2 to 3 months. So having that code, that basic functionality with which that model came is your genetic code. That is not going to change. But the software updates which keep coming back every 2 months is the epigenetics. That is how you are upgrading or improving that function of that machine every single time there's a software upgrade. So same thing with epigenetics. Even though you are born with the genetic code and your DNA is all set, it's not going to change. But how that DNA is going to express itself is going to be based on epigenetics. And there are different factors which influence your epigenetics. For example, stress. For example, fasting really changes your epigenetics. And there's a lot of research on that. And in Hindu culture, we do fast. And finally, a very big factor we can all control is food. Food has epigenetic quality where the food is working at your RNA level, at your DNA level, at your mitochondria level. And that is how it is changing your genetic expression or genetic modulation, I would call it. And I know as we grow old, we know our endurance decreases. We cannot run as fast or as rapidly as we used to run when we were young. Why does it happen? It's because a lot of cells change in our body. For example, the mitochondria goes down, so the oxygen extracting capacity goes down, your energy consumption capacity goes down. But if you eat the right kind of foods, due to epigenetics, you can actually set the clock backwards. So you can tap on your longevity by eating the right kind of foods. You can actually increase the amount of mitochondria. You can continue to run marathons. I actually had a patient last week. He's 94 years old and he has run a lot of marathons, and he only started running when he was 60. So this epigenetics is a very new science. If you get time, read about it, learn about it. And I'm going to give you very simple, and this is a time-limited talk, so I cannot keep expanding it, but I'm going to give you a time-limited primer on what epigenetics is. There are 7 longevity genes, and those are called sirtuins. So if you eat the right kind of foods, those foods are going to work along with those sirtuins or the 7 longevity genes, and they're going to change or modulate your genetics expression, and then that's how they're going to tap into your good health, wellness, and longevity. We'll go to the next slide, please. So this is just the question which we may all have had, that we all go through the similar kind of exposure, but why is that one person who gets cancer? I mean, you all come across that in the community, that one person got cancer, and then you're all talking, oh my God, why? Why is that one person who ended up with cancer? So let me try to explain to you. That is again coming back to the epigenetics and the dietary effects of epigenetics and how that changes your gene expression and how that modulates things. So in your body...
Can this be in presentation mode? It's hard to read. I posted on chat. That's why I went on mute to request that.
So
at the bottom button. Yeah, thanks.
So we'll Thank you. I wish we knew this ahead of the time. We could have done it right away from the beginning. Thank you, Manju, very much for that. So basically, I'm coming back to this question. I know we all have had this question, that why is it that one person ends up having that cancer? So your body is made of trillions and trillions of cells. And to be specific, you have close to 40 to 50 trillion cells in your body. And on a daily basis, you are turning around close to like a billion cells every day. So your billion cells are being damaged and destroyed and corrected and taken away, and the new cells are coming up. So of these 40 to 50 trillion cells, you are correcting 1 billion cells every day. And every day, due to all these exposures, the environmental pollution, exposures, radiation, bad diets, alcohol, smoking, different things, sometimes infections, you are having mutations in your body. So there are approximately 10,000 mutations happening in your body on a daily basis. And it takes only one mutation to turn into cancer. So if your body is strong, if you have taken good care of your body, if you are eating the right kind of diet, if you are tapping into that epigenetic potential of all the good diets, when your cells are mutating and that one cell is trying to become into a cancerous cell, your body will stop that right there. But in case if you are that unlucky person who may have exposed yourself to all the environmental toxins or smoking or alcohol or other things and not eaten the right kind of food or eaten too much of sugar, fat, and salt, then the possibility is that one mutation will change into that cancerous cell, and that's where the cascade starts. We'll go to the next slide. So again, I also want to tell you one very important fact of epigenetics, which blew my mind. And a lot of times we think whatever we are eating is the damage we are going to do for us. So what if I'm going to have 3 slices of cake in a party and 2 gulab jamuns followed by 1 rasgulla? I'm damaging my body. And that's not the fact. The whole thing about epigenetics is it's transgenerational. What that means is what you do to your body carries over for next 2 generations. And this is the lesson we are supposed to give our children, because if they take good care of their bodies, their next 2 generations are going to be healthy. And I'll tell you, the research which was done was on fruit flies. And the scientists, what they did was they took the fruit flies and then they fed them very heavy, fatty food. And what happens with eating very heavy fat-laden diet? Your body gets fat depositions, particularly heart. So these fruit flies, which were fed with very heavy fat food, their heart had lipotoxic damage. Lipotoxic means it was filled with fatty molecules. The globules of fat went and sat inside the heart of these fruit flies and damaged the heart. So then the next generation also had the same lipotoxic damage to the heart, and the generation after that also had the lipotoxic damage to the heart. Even when the scientists were feeding the nutritious food, the generation number 1 and generation number 2, they still continue to have that lipotoxic damage to the heart. So if you are eating bad food, your next 2 generations are going to be having the similar kind of damaging effects to their organs and things like that. And same thing will happen vice versa. For example, if the scientists fed the fruit flies very healthy, good, nutritious diet, then the next 2 generations had strong heart, they were healthy hearts, and they were able to see that through the 2 generations. So the epigenetic effect of diet is transgenerational, which means it's going to carry over into 2 more generations. We all have our kids, but our kids are going to have more kids. So we need to teach our kids this fact that if you damage your body by doing damage to your cells, not eating right, you are actually carrying over that damage for next 2 generations. And We all have heard, you are what you eat. Yes, you are what you eat, but with the science of epigenetics, we have come to learn that you are what you eat, but your next 2 generations, which means your kids and your grandkids, are also going to be what you eat. Fact in your mind. With that, we'll move on. Yeah, I think this is the slide. No, I think one back slide. Thank you. So I told you all that father of medicine himself, Hippocrates, said, food is thy medicine. But somewhere in the 400 years, we have completely forgotten that message. We have moved from food is medicine to pills are medicine. And from agricultural farm on the lands, we have moved to pharmaceutical farm in the pills. But all is not sad. Like I said, life is a full circle. We come back. There is a reappraisal. We are coming back to learning all the facts which our ancestors have always been stressing. Ayurvedic medicine has been stressing. Our grandparents and parents have been stressing. So we are coming back full circle to all those facts and learning with all the science which has come out about the wonderful biocomponents, all these good things in the food, which we call as nutraceuticals, or we call it as phytonutrients. And we are learning how the food is working and helping us. And we are coming back to the farm from the pills and the pharmaceutical farms. I'll go to the next slide. So with this, I want to thank you. I'm going to go over to some more very important, one last slide after this. So stay put. If you have fallen asleep, this is the time for you to wake up and go have a cup of water or a green tea, because we are talking about good foods. And I also want to thank 2 authors with whom I have been heavily influenced. That's Michael Pollan, wonderful, wonderful writer, author, journalist, and a beautiful speaker. And another one is William Lee. He's a vascular surgeon. He is research-based, and I read them, I listen to them, and I follow them, and they're both wonderful. If you want to read their books, they're all over the Kindle and podcasts, so look them up. And my parting message to you is very, very, very simple. Bring it back. Eat simple, eat seasonal, eat colorful, and eat local. If you follow these simple rules, you'll be good to go. And Pankaj, with this, I would like to go back to the important slide, and that's the epigenetics slide back. Yep, stop here. So like I said, if anyone has fallen asleep, this would be your time to wake up, because I'm going to talk about all the ingredients I've listed on the left side. And I'm going to take it really fast, because this topic is not a topic which I can consolidate in 60 minutes. This is each subject, each ingredient can take 60 minutes of talking time. But just to be fair and respect your time, I'm going to go fast. So please do take the tips and the tricks. And if you want to incorporate any changes, do write them down. So let's start with all the important kitchen things we use, and I'll start with oil. So there are different types of oil. I'm not going to get into all the different oils. I'm going to talk about olive oil. If you are buying olive oils, I would say spend your money and buy the best olive oil you can, because olive oil is very, very rich with polyphenols. There have been scientific studies where olive oil has been compared with analgesics and the medication, the pills, and it has come at par when it comes to analgesic action, which means the pain reduction action. Olive oil, polyphenols do work as good as any other painkiller. Olive oil, a good quality olive oil should come from single estate. What does that mean? It means it should all be coming from a same farm of olives. If you cannot find a single estate olive oil, a single country olive oil is good enough. So look for the country of origin, because that's where they put cheap olive oil into the good olive oil. The good olive oil usually comes from Spain or Italy. Always look at the product where the country of origin is. If you see like 5 countries listed as a country of origin, that means that oil is cheap oil. They're mixing a lot of cheap olive oil with a good olive oil from Mediterranean. So look for the country of origin. And also olive oil, a good quality olive oil should always be in a glass container, a very dark container. If you see the words extra light olive oil or light olive oil, don't buy that because that has been heat treated. And once you treat with the heat, the polyphenols in the olive oil gets damaged. So you're not reaping the best benefit for your money. So if you're buying some cheap, clear looking olive oil, that's not the right olive oil. Olive oil has that dark, pungent taste, smell, color, viscosity to it. And usually a good olive oil, they actually pick the olives and they right away cold press it within 6 hours of the time. And that is the good quality of olive oil. And if you're using it for finishing oil, put all your money on it. If you're going to be cooking, some heat damage can happen. But if you're using it as a finishing oil, putting it on the salad or anywhere else as a dipping oil where you're eating the raw olive oil, do put your money to buy that. And then Costco carries pretty good olive oil. Trader Joe's is also very good and affordable olive oil. Once you bring the olive oil, how are you supposed to store it? So ideally, it should be in the refrigerator or in some cold, dark place. Do not put olive oil where the sun rays are hitting the kitchen counter and the olive oil is going to get damaged, oxidized, and become rancid. People can put the olive oil in the refrigerator. If you do, it becomes a little bit of like a ghee, like a gel. So the trick to that is just when you're trying to get your kitchen started, like let's say you're going to make dinner for tonight, you just put the olive oil out at the room temperature, get started with your chopping. That room temperature will bring the olive oil back to liquid consistency, use it and put it back in the refrigerator. Otherwise, just put it in a cool, dark place in a glass container. That's good enough. And always look at the expiration because use it soon as you can to reap the maximum benefits. Next, I'm going to talk about salt. I'm not going to get into 100 different varieties of salt. My key takeaway for you is if you have to use good salt, go with Himalayan pink salt. Why? Because Himalayan pink salt comes from the beds of the Himalayas, which were laid millions and billions of years ago, before the man was there to pollute these salt beds. So Himalayan salt beds are one of the cleanest and the best sources of Himalayan pink salt. They have 84 different micro minerals and trace elements which we need. So when I'm talking about the DNA repair, the enzymes, the epigenetics of diet, we are talking about the micro minerals and traces. The enzymes are working on getting those damaged DNA out of your body and preventing bad things. That's where these trace micro minerals are helping. The regular table salt which you use is known as sodium chloride. That usually has anti-caking agent because you see how crystally nice and like it slips through your fingers. That's because it has a caking agent which is aluminium. And aluminium has neurodegenerative effects, dementia side effects, so you want to be cautious. And also sodium chloride is high in sodium. Of course, it's only sodium and chloride. And what does sodium do to your body? Sodium increases your blood pressure. Anytime you're talking about salt, you think of blood pressure, hypertension. Whereas actually Himalayan pink salt doesn't do that because it is made with a lot of different salt. It has some potassium, some sodium, some other trace minerals. The combination of all that, in fact, actually helps your body and helps the blood pressure. Ironically, it does help your blood pressure. But next you may say, okay, doc, what's the deal with the sea salt? If I can I have sea salt? So sea salt is better than table salt. Sea salt is coming from the sea, so it does have some trace minerals and elements which I'm talking about, which pink salt has. But it also has a lot of microplastics, which is a contamination human beings has created in the sea. So go to Himalayan pink salt if you can. Next one I'm going to talk about is black pepper. So black pepper is Kali Mirch, that is the black gold. So in India, it's known as black gold in the olden times because it was as expensive as gold. And the active chemical ingredient in it is called piperacin. And that component is pretty good for many things, antioxidant, anti-cancer. But one good thing I want to tell you about is it stops that enzyme which damages your serotonin. And people would know what is serotonin. Serotonin is that sweet, happy hormone which we all have in our minds. So if you have that high level of serotonin, you'll feel uplifted, you'll feel boosted, you'll feel energetic and happy. So that active ingredient piperacin helps to increase the serotonin levels in your brain and makes you feel happy and uplifted. One more thing I want to tell you about black pepper and the piperacin is it is fat soluble. So do you know how if you put ghee in water, the ghee and the water is not going to mix because fat and water do not mix. So anytime you have a chemical which is fat soluble, you need a carrier which is going to help you absorb that. So for pepper to be absorbed, it should have a carrier which is fat soluble. So if you eat pepper, or you're putting some pepper in your smoothies, add a little bit of avocado because avocado is fat. And if you're eating pepper, if you eat a few cashews, the fat in the cashews are going to help you absorb that pepper chemical better. Or if you're cooking, which is what most of us do, add a little pepper in that initial ghee or whatever good oil you're using because the fat will help absorb the pepper and the chemical biocomponent in it much better. Next, we come to turmeric. I think turmeric is the spice which got the maximum media attention in the last 10 years. That's because it has gotten a lot of scientific research which is showing how good it is. I mean, in many, many cancers, I think I had a slide earlier which showed how turmeric is excellent for many things. Antibacterial, antifungal, antiviral, anti-cancer, antioxidant. I can go on and on and on. So turmeric is the golden spice, which is very good for your health. And again, key takeaways from me to you is the chemical component is known as curcumin. The ways curcumin gets absorbed is it's fat soluble, so always use a fat carrier. Its bioavailability and absorption increases tremendously if you combine turmeric with a pinch of black pepper. Doesn't have to be a lot of black pepper. You just have to have a pinch of black pepper in the turmeric for turmeric to be absorbed better in your body. And turmeric has been studied extensively. It is very good for arthritis also. People actually can take a teaspoon. Excuse me, sorry, my throat is so dry. I think 40 minutes into non-stop talking does that to you. So if you ask me how much turmeric to take, there's a scientific studies they have done like 1.5 grams per pound or teaspoon. You just need a teaspoon of turmeric in your daily intake and that's good enough. Next one is lemon. We all know how good lemon is. One lemon gives you more than your needed vitamin C amount. It protects your body from all the infections and helps you look younger. And one thing I want to tell you is there is a lot of benefit in the peel of the lemon. We always throw away the peel of the lemon. So if you can just put the whole lemon into the smoothie, or if you're making a lemonade, try doing that. It's a mental block. I used to think, how can you eat a lemon peel? But I started eating and I'm over it, and I put it in the Vitamix and make like a puree out of it and use that instead of just the lemon juice. So you can also try that because lemon peel has active ingredient called limic acid or limene, and that helps to clear the liver. So if somebody has any problem with liver, for example, somebody is an alcoholic or they have a fatty deposition, your triglycerides are very high, you have fatty deposits in your liver and you're trying to clean your liver, detox your liver, lemon is your go-to thing. Fenugreek is a new kid on the block, gaining a lot of rep now, but Ayurveda and ancient Indian medicine has known about fenugreek for centuries and ages. So fenugreek is, you can eat powder, you can eat leaves, you can eat seeds, you can soak them, you can make things with it. Again, fenugreek has many things. I'm going to talk about only two things. One is it's if you want to protect yourself from having diabetes, or if you're already a diabetic and you want to regulate your blood sugars, fenugreek is very good. It is very high in fiber. The soluble fiber in the fenugreek feeds your gut bacteria. So it helps your gut to get stronger. And once your gut is stronger, it will fight all the diseases. And fenugreek is also very, very good if you are nursing. For example, if you just had a baby and you want to increase your milk production, have fenugreek. It has been proven, and they come in the form of pills. But if you can eat the powder, which is what I like, I don't know what's going on in the pill, so I'm a skeptic. In a pill, there may be 5 other chemicals and then a little fenugreek. So if you can just eat the turmeric instead of a turmeric pill, if you can just eat the fenugreek instead of the fenugreek pill, I would highly, highly recommend you to do that instead of going the complicated route of buying it from Costco and some pill, and then just do it the right way, the natural way if you can. But yes, if you cannot, then go the way of the pills. Next one is garlic and onions. So coming back, we all use garlic, we all use onions. I know some of the Hindu cultures like Jain, Hindu food may not have these ingredients, but I'm still going to tell you the benefits. The garlic is best utilized by your body if it is crushed, not the whole. If you eat the whole garlic, you're not getting much benefit out of it. So if you want to get the maximum benefit of the garlic, you need to crush it. When you crush it, you are opening all the cell membranes. You are releasing all the chemicals out, and it gets activated. And have you ever seen any kind of show on the TV? The chef would actually crush the garlic and then chop it into small things. So that is releasing all the chemicals in the garlic, activating the garlic components, and you're absorbing it much better. So try doing that, not just cut the garlic, crush it and then chop it into small pieces. On the other hand, the onions are different. Onions do better if you eat raw onions. And I don't know if you are, I have lived all across India. I'm from north, south, central. Every part of India eats onions, and they all eat raw onions. And raw onions should be eaten raw. That's on contrary to garlic. Garlic should be eaten crushed and cooked to get the maximum benefit. Onion should be eaten raw because the active chemical component in the onion, when it goes in your mouth and mixes with your saliva, it gets activated. The allium and all the alanine, the component in the onion, that activates, and that has a lot of good benefits. So onions should be eaten raw, and garlic should be eaten cooked. Next is mushrooms. So mushrooms are known as adaptogens, and you can all Google all this. What is adaptogen? Adaptogen is something which helps to uplift your mood, uplift your brain. Mushrooms are known as brain food. So mushrooms are very, very rich in vitamin B, and they are very rich in folic acid. So if you are going to have a baby, what do we give moms? Folic acid. Why? Because we want the baby's brains, the neural development. For that reason, we give the vitamin B and folic acid to pregnant moms. Same thing, mushrooms are very rich in vitamin B and folic acid. If you are ever feeling down, just eat a cup of mushrooms. Mushrooms will boost your serotonin, will make that brain food for you, and will make you feel uplifted. And also, if your kids think it is very slimy or it is not good, do not encourage that. I always tell people you need to try any kind of food at least like 4 to 7 times before giving up. Maybe if somebody is genuinely allergic, I would say, okay, give up. But otherwise, oh mom, I don't like it because it's a slimy texture. Don't listen to that. Just try a different preparation. Try a different way. Try encouraging. Be a role model. Eat mushroom in front of them in a bowl so the kid sees you eating, and then they are also mimicking you, or they are imprinting you, and they see you eating, they'll eat it too. Because what do we hear? Monkey see, monkey do. So if your monkey, little monkey, which is your kids, see you eat good foods, fresh mushrooms or some salad with mushrooms, they will also eat it. But if you don't eat it and you feed them, you may hear a no from them because they are seeing what you are doing. So next one is apple. Again, there are different types of apple. To be honest, all apples are equally good. But one thing I want to tell you is, do not peel your apple. Do not peel your apple. If you peel your apple, you are throwing all those vitamins and minerals down the drain. So eat the apple with the peel. Red apple is slightly better than others. And 1 apple a day keeps the doctor away. So we all have heard 1 apple a day keeps the doctor away. And there is truth to it, because the active chemical component which the apple has is known as quercetin, Quercetin, and that is present just underneath the peel. So if you are being stylish and you take the whole peel out, you are throwing all the chemical out. And apple also has very good soluble fiber, so it's very good for your gut. And next we move on to the pomegranate. Pomegranate got a lot of reputation and the media attention in the last 10 years. And then there was a Supreme Court case where Federal Trade Cooperation tried to file the lawsuit against the company which makes the juice, the Pom Juice, saying that Pom Juice company is false advertising that pomegranate is a superfood. Pomegranate is very, very good for you. But the Supreme Court did not even entertain that case because pomegranate is so good that nobody needs any proof that pomegranate is not a good food. So Supreme Court just disregarded that case. So pomegranate is extremely good, and I will recommend you all to eat the seasonal. Pomegranate comes in December through January. Eat it day in, day out. There is no excess in that. Eat it the fruit way better than the juice way. So, and that juice is available throughout the 12 months of the year, but the maximum benefit is when you eat the right food in the right season. So eat seasonal pomegranate in the right season and eat the fruit more than the juice. But if you don't get anything, drinking juice is okay. But I'm a purist. I'll always come back to eating the food the way it is. So if you can eat a pomegranate fruit, that's what I will recommend. And again, I told you those longevity genes called sirtuins, and that is exactly where your pomegranate goes and hits you. So it's working at the right target. So pomegranate actually has been studied for longevity, for anti-aging, looking younger, a lot of different things. And pomegranate is indeed and in fact very, very good fruit to eat. Next one is cruciferous vegetables. Please eat your mustards. Please eat your broccoli. Please eat your kale. You don't have to have the salad. You can cook it. You can pan fry, stir fry. There's so many different ways you can incorporate these greens into your diet and reap the benefits. Cruciferous vegetables have that pungent, when you bite into it, there's like a pungent taste to it. It's a mustard, the sarson ka saag, you know, the bitterness, that is actually the chemical which is protecting your cells, protecting your DNA repair, protecting you from the oxidative damage of all the pollution and radiation and everything you expose yourself to. So eat your cruciferous vegetables, especially to your kids. Encourage them to eat and be creative. Don't make it the right. I mean, if people ask me to eat kale, I cannot love kale, but I have made kale into so many different ways. I have made things, Indian style recipes out of kale. So you can be creative and ask friends. They always have tried it. And once you share recipes, you'll come even with even more creative ways you can incorporate these good things into your diet on a day-to-day basis. Lastly, eating greens and fiber. So eat as much greens as you can. Spinach has so much iron, so much vitamin C, fiber. Again, if you actually want to do a scientific experiment with yourself, do it and get back to me. Feel free to comment on my Facebook page where I'm live streaming this. How much grams of fiber do you eat in a day? You will be surprised how much fiber we should be eating and how little fiber we are getting. The fiber is actually the feeding bacteria. We all have heard the probiotic. Probiotic is the bacteria which we eat in the dahi, in the fermented foods, in kimchi, in sauerkraut and everything else. But prebiotic is a fiber which comes from our diet and vegetables and nutrition, and that goes and feeds your gut bacteria. And then that gut bacteria helps you become healthy, because all the IBS, the migraine, a different kind of, actually in breast cancer too, they have seen that if your gut bacteria is strong, you can protect yourself from a lot of different illnesses. And there is lots and lots of scientific research about how your gut is actually your second brain. So gut has as many trillions and trillions of bacteria as you have cells in your body. So there is a reason why nature had put all that bacteria and everything there. So you should feed good things to that bacteria so that bacteria can be working as a team with you. And lastly, I think I skipped tomato somewhere here. I forgot, but I'm going to just quickly finish up. This is the last thing I'm going to talk about. Tomatoes have something called as lycopene. And lycopene is that active chemical biocomponent which is present in the tomatoes, which is what decreases the prostate cancer in men and also shown in breast cancer reduction in women. Lycopene is that active phytonutrient or nutraceutical or biocomponent or whatever you want to call. And lycopene is also fat soluble. As you'll recall from my previous, I was talking about turmeric, curcumin in the turmeric, piperine in the black pepper. They're all fat soluble. And I told you how the fat and the water don't mix. So same thing with lycopene in tomato. So lycopene is fat soluble. So if you eat just the tomato or the tomato juice, you're not absorbing all the lycopene. You're not making that lycopene bioavailable to your body. So when you are cooking the tomato in a little bit of a fat, whatever good fat you're using, whether it's oil or ghee or whatever, when you cook, that lycopene gets activated. It's much more bioavailable. The body is able to absorb. So you're increasing your absorbability, bioavailability, and that lycopene gets activated. And the amount, if you eat a raw tomato versus cooked tomato pasta sauce or some kind of a cooked tomato sauce, the value goes up. So you're not getting as much benefit by eating something raw here. You should be eating it a little bit cooked. And again, man being man always wants to be the smart aleck and wants to beat nature. So whenever we find out that there is research lycopene in the tomatoes decreases the prostate cancer. There was another study where they said people who were eating a lot of yellow fruits like carrots and the sweet potatoes had a lot of beta carotene. So all these people had less cancer, lung cancer, epithelial cancer, cervical cancer. So what did man do? Man always wants to make money. And what did I tell you? The marketing genius is you create an anxiety, then you create a solution, and then you go to this highly anxious consumer and you sell that solution and make money. So always, man being man, try to extract this lycopene from the tomato in the pill form and beta carotene from these carrots and said, okay, let's try taking it in the pill form. If you can eat carrots, you're having less cancer. So maybe if you take it in the pill form, this beta carotene, your cancer will further decrease. Guess what? The man was totally wrong. The scientists were totally wrong. When people were eating the carrots and the sweet potatoes and the orange colored things, cancer risk was going down. But when scientists developed a pill for beta carotene and started giving to the patient population, the cancer risk actually went up. So I want to tell you about a very important thing. One, that Mother Nature is the smartest. Nobody else can beat Mother Nature. And two, what Mother Nature has created is something called as a synchrony or symphony or synergy. You can call whatever you want to call. It's not that one chemical in the carrot, beta carotene, which is helping to decrease the cancer. It's actually the medley of all the different biocomponents which are complementing each other, which are coming together, and they are working together to help you beat that cancer risk. So man being man thought, I'm very smart. I'm going to extract the beta carotene. I'm going to reduce the cancer. I'm going to make money. That's not what happened. Mother Nature still won this race. Because eat a carrot, you reduce your cancer risk. Eat a beta carotene pill, you increase your cancer risk. Same thing happened with the lycopene. Eat a tomato paste or a puree, your cancer risk goes down, prostate cancer especially. And they extracted the pill, you take the pill, they actually saw that the pro-oxidant effect of the pill was much higher. So it was doing the damage to the cells, which is not good for your body. So I think with that, we are at 4:05. I'm super impressed with myself. I'm on time, only 5 minutes out. And I'm going to let the audience ask any questions. I'm going to let the moderator allow anyone who has raised hand to ask one or two questions.
Dr. Rewati, thank you very much again for sharing this wonderful information with us. I do have some questions that the audience has shared in the chat box, so I'm going to randomly pick a few and ask away. One of them was how to take turmeric, and how much to take, what is the right amount, how to consume it. Is it good for 1 cup of milk, and are there any side effects?
So, excess of anything is bad for you. So you never want to, like I said, man is always thinking man is smarter than nature. No, it's not. So you cannot think that if I take 1 teaspoon of turmeric, I get this much benefit. If I take 5 spoons, I'll get, no, that's wrong. So the research journals and all have said, if you roughly want to remember how much turmeric to take, it is going to be 1 teaspoon. Put a pinch of black pepper in it. So I told you the scientific fact. What happens when you add turmeric and black pepper? The curcumin gets activated by the chemical in the black pepper. It's called piperine. And piperine and curcumin together are complementary. Your absorption increases. So 1 teaspoon of turmeric. And if you are a stickler for details and you really want to know how much by weight, it is 1.5 grams. So 1.5 gram per pound, or milligrams, I think. 1 second. I want to confirm so I don't give you the wrong information. Yeah, 1.5 milligrams of turmeric per pound, or 3 milligram per kilogram of your body weight. So that's the weight base. But if you just don't want, you're like, okay, who's going to measure? Take a teaspoon of turmeric, add a little bit of black pepper, put it in any quantity of milk, and then you can drink that. That's good enough. And that's what is a golden smoothie recipe. I mean, in California.
Dr. Rewati?
Yes.
May I interrupt with an old adage from our old wife, my mother's trick. She would melt 1 teaspoon of ghee.
Yes.
Mix it with half a teaspoon of turmeric and with a pinch of black pepper, and feed it to us every Sunday morning.
So I want to hail to your mom. She is a brilliant woman, and she was doing exactly what it is. Black pepper, turmeric, ghee. What is ghee? Ghee is a fat medium. Turmeric has curcumin. Black pepper has pepperin. So combining these 3 elements, you are making the fat soluble chemical more bioavailable and absorbing into your body. Good job, Anu. Thank you for chiming in. Appreciate it very much.
Rewati, quick question. When it comes to consuming it with milk, for instance, do you first heat up the milk and only then add the turmeric, or do you heat it up together? I think that's always been my question.
It really doesn't matter, but if you are a person, again, there is like I said, there is a cultural identity with food. So Indian culture has always told us to take a little bit of a warm milk. I would say go with the warm milk. But let's say if your kid is born and brought up in America, like my kids have been, and my kids can drink cold milk with no complaints, they can mix it in cold milk. And once you're making a smoothie, it's all cold. You just throw some turmeric in there and that's ready to go. So to be honest, temperature doesn't matter. It's the fat and the medium. But if the temperature is too cold and your fat is like a globule and you're like, maybe I should heat it up a little bit, go with that, whatever that gut feeling is. So it's okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr.
I'm going to answer one question Santosh had asked about the apples. Apples do have a wax coating. So if you buy apples, you can just soak them in a little bit of a warm water. Put a little bit, like a tablespoon of salt in it, and put some vinegar. That's going to just get all the excess out from it. You'll see that the wax kind of comes to the surface, and then you just use those apples, dry them up, and they'll be fine. And we think that apple spoils, but actually apples, when I went to Minnesota Arboretum, because Minnesota is the leading state for apples for development, and our researchers at University of Minnesota are the top apple researchers. That's what I learned at Arboretum. What they said is in the olden times, they would have apples lasting for months. So a good apple should not spoil for many, many months. That's how they actually survived through the winters. The potatoes and the apples and the onions, they would go through the winter in Minnesota when there's no produce. Good question, Santosh. What else?
So we have one more on juicing. Do you recommend mixing fruit vegetables for juicing or?
So again, different people have different reasons.
Sorry, can you hear me? Yeah, Dr. Rewati, actually this is Dolly. Hi, this is my question. So I had actually two questions. The first is, there's so much craze about juicing. So is juicing fruits and vegetables better or eating as they are with fiber? That's my first question.
Okay.
The second was, is it okay to mix variety of fruits in a bowl to eat, or do you recommend eating one fruit at a time?
So I'll answer that. It's okay to mix fruits together. Sometimes some fruits are acidic. You may want to keep that in mind. But otherwise, mixing fruits as such is okay. Some Ayurvedic background may be a little bit different. So look for what are the acidic fruits and you may want to separate them out. And coming back to the juicing, the only time when I'm a purist, I don't like, if the nature wanted you to eat an apple like an apple, I don't want to take it from an apple into a wonderful clear juice and do it that way. So I'm a purist. I want the things the way they were, the way the nature wanted us to do it. Nature did not want us to put the apple into this processor and throw all the good peel out the door and take the juice. I told you that most of the quercetin, quercetin, the actual active chemical, which is clearing up your arteries, which is what is keeping the doctor away. An apple a day keeps the doctor away, is under the skin of the apple. So if you can, go ahead and eat the whole fruit. But sometimes some people may have leaky gut syndrome. And again, I do not want to get into depth of medical sciences. Those people, if they have some absorption troubles and everything, they may benefit from juicing where they don't want to go through the fiber because they have very leaky gut. They are going through some trouble and healing and all the fiber and the content is disrupting their gut. Then yes, but if you're a general average healthy person, do not complicate the food by juicing. Go ahead and eat the fruit. If you tolerate and it doesn't bother you, just keep it very simple, very basic. Somebody asked, I'm going to answer that question, Jagdish Jha. Yes, sir, absolutely. Red wine is good. Quantity is very important. You cannot overdo. Next question.
Anything about nuts, Rewati?
I will have the moderator let the people in. So who is this? Introduce yourself and then you can go ahead and ask the question. So that was a very good question. Who is this?
That was Shweta.
Okay, so Shweta, very good question. So nuts and seeds, I want to explain in a very simple way. The nature wanted life to go from your generation to next generation to next generation. So nature's prime intent is life on this earth should move forward and forward and forward. Nature never intended somebody to die and that generation to end with that life cycle. Only man comes and does extinct because we overeat all these species or we overeat some plants and we disrupt the balance of the nature. So nature always wants progeny. Progeny means your generation to next generation to next generation. So nature wanted the seeds to be the carriers for the next generation. So nature put all its energy and love and passion into the seed, and so the seed can take the life into next plant to next plant to next plant. So seeds and nuts are actually very good sources of lots and lots of different good things. I don't have another hour to talk about it, but yes, absolutely, nuts and seeds are very, very good. Certain things I want to tell you, like I said, this whole session is about takeaway message. So takeaway message is certain kind of legumes, and in legumes, which are also seeds, these are the dals. All the dals come in the legumes. Many different things come in under the category of legumes. Is a big umbrella. Many things come under the category of legumes. One important thing is you always should soak them for at least few hours, because that way you are actually, there is a chemical which is not very good for body. So you are getting that chemical, diluting that chemical, and then that seed gets activated. And once the seed gets activated, it germinates, it sprouts. So more the germination, more the sprouts, the nutrient value multiplies by tens and hundreds of folds if you germinate the seed. So to answer your question simply, yes, absolutely, nuts and seeds are excellent package of information, package of nutrition, package of all the good things. If you can soak them, great. If you can germinate them and sprout them, the best way to eat them. Moderator will let one more person. I think we are at 4:15. I don't want to overshoot my time. But if there's anyone else, Lena, you can ask one more person.
Okay. So you did mention something about yogurt. There's a lot of talk about how good it is, or can you shed some light on that, please? And
Sure.
anything else on foods that are good for gut health? Thank you.
Sure. So I think I briefly brought up that gut your body is made of 40 trillion bacteria. No, 40 trillion cells is making your body. And almost equal, or actually much more than your body cells, we have bacteria in our gut. So if you think your brain is the actual brain making you do things, there are many, many, many things happening in your gut. Have you all heard that my gut feeling? That gut feeling is the gut reason, because people are calling gut to be your second brain. Your gut decides your immunity. Your gut decides certain diseases. Your gut decides if it's going to have Crohn's disease or ulcerative colitis. Your gut decides if you are going to have migraines. Sounds weird, but there is an association about migraines and your gut. So, and then there are different things. If you eat something not right, then the whole body system gets upset. That's because your gut is playing a very, very important role in your homeostasis, which is the good balance and the wellness of your body. So when you are feeding body the fermented foods like bacteria which are present in the yogurt or dahi, you are helping create this very good bacteria. So your gut has mostly good bacteria which are on your team. But there are some bacteria, some of them, particularly notorious one is known as Clostridium. And because we are eating more and more antibiotics lately, our kids are eating more antibiotics. You have a runny nose, you get antibiotics. Ear infection, you get antibiotics. Because of antibiotics, this bad gut bacteria called Clostridium is taking stronger and stronger role, and then good bacteria it's dominating them. And when you feed your gut with dahi or sauerkraut, or there is a fermented food list in every culture from every country. I mean, they just have different names. If you have lassi and all those kind of things which have live bacteria. In my case, I make kombucha. So kombucha is something which is a fad. It has taken over last 5 years. But kombucha is a live bacteria, a live thing coming from a SCOBY. And you're feeding the gut the right kind of bacteria by eating dahi, the good bacteria, the lactobacillus. You are helping create the balance where the good bacteria is increasing, bad bacteria is decreasing, and you're decreasing risk of lot of different illnesses in your body.
That sounds great. Thank you very much.
So I think with that, we are going to take a leave.
I think we have to be respectful to Dr. Rewati's time. We'd like to thank her for an amazing talk. I mean, I think I learned so much. I'm sure everybody here learned so much. It was very engaging. It was really great. And as you can see, time just flew. And we still have some more questions, which I'm going to request those people to contact you offline. And again, thank you so much for staying over time and taking your precious time to come and educate us with such an important topic, that how we can prevent diseases just by monitoring and eating food carefully. So once again, thank you very much, Dr. Rewati. And I also would like to thank all the audience. Thanks for asking great questions. Thanks for being involved and engaged in the presentation and workshop. That's the whole goal. and hope to see you all in our future workshops, wellness workshops this year.
So Renu, I just have one more small question for the audience. I do want to hear from the audience before you take leave in the next 1 or 2 minutes. I want you to put a sentence or a word about what you would like to hear in the future. If there is something, then that helps us coordinate, because bringing any kind of workshop like this takes a lot of effort. I mean, for me, I've been studying for hours and hours. I'm not bragging, I'm just being very honest. For TheNeedInDeed, which is the organization, it's 501c nonprofit organization, and they are doing tremendous work to bring this kind of workshop to your benefit, because we want you all to do very well. So I would like from you to know, what would you like to hear in the future? So please, it's a request, if you could write it down, what you would like to hear in the future. And also I want you to remember Max Giving Tuesdays are coming up in the new year. And if you could keep TheNeedInDeed in your mind for making your 501c contribution, which is tax matchable from your corporates, please do keep it in mind so they can continue bringing such workshops for your benefit.
One of the questions or suggestions is that can you please share your Facebook page right now in the chat if you can, so that people can connect to you. And one of the topics is nutrition, so they want to hear more about nutrition.
Sounds good. Thank you so much. I'm going to sign off. Thank you, Renu, and have a wonderful year. Happy New Year once again. Make changes and stay happy, healthy, and blessed.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye.